Howdy everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. So today I put together this fabric Christmas garland. I have added some items that I did in a couple of previous videos, but today I created a few more things to add on and create this cute little garland. It was really easy and fun to put together, and I highly recommend that you try making it. So let's get to crafting. Okay, so we are going to start off by cutting out some triangles. So what I did here is I made myself a little pattern out of some paper. So what you will do is you will cut out a little rectangle that is 5 inches by 8 inches in length. When you have your little rectangle, fold it in half. And then what I did down here is I just marked like a 1/4 inch at the little point here. You don't have to do that. You can just go straight up from that center fold up to the edge here where it's not folded, and just use a straight ruler and then mark that line so that then you can cut it off and create this triangle. Now I left a little bit of a, as you can see there, all together it ends up being about 1/2 inch. You don't have to do that, okay? Alright, so then we can use this pattern to cut out all our fabric triangles. Now, you're going to cut 2 pieces for each little triangle. That's going to end up being these little, like little cones, okay? So you can use all the same fabric to do all of this, or you can use separate, fabrics, scraps, whatever you have, to create your little triangle, little pairs here for your little cones. Okay, so I'm going to just pin this down and I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to do 6 of them. You do however many you want. And I'm just going to cut these all at the same time. I already have 2 here, so I've got 1, and then I've got 2, 3, and 4 all here all together, so I can cut them all at once. Sometimes when you cut them all at once, you might end up with the bottoms ones being a little bit wider than the top ones. That's okay. We don't need these to be perfect. We're not going to be sewing them to each other, so they can be different little sizes if that's what we want. Okay, so just straight up cut like that. I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting all the way around, and I'll be back for the next step. Alright, so I've already cut all my triangles for my little cones, and I'm going to take the fabric and put them facing each other so that I have the right sides facing inside. Now, you could mix and match them if you want. You can have, the sides be different fabrics. That would be kind of cute. So, okay, well, not kind of cute. It would be really cute. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and pin them together so that then we can go ahead and sew all the way around. Now, here's an option for you. You could add some iron-on interfacing if you want to. One side of each of your, your little cone pairs here on just one side. Iron on some of that interfacing if you want to make them a little bit stiffer. Or you can go ahead and also cut out of quilter's batting. You can cut out a little triangle and then pin it all together so that then you can, when you sew the quilter's batting into the little cone fabric. I'm not going to do either one of those. They can be just like that. Just sew them together, leave them plain. I'm going to be filling them, as you can see here. I've filled them with polyfill, so just a little bit. It's not a lot, and that's what I'm going to do to create the little cone shape. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and start sewing these. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down and then come straight back up. I'm not going to go across here. I'm just going to go straight down to a point and then come right back up. Don't bother about sewing this part here. You can leave that open so that then we can stuff them. And I'm just using the same red thread that I have been using with all of my little projects that I've been making recently. Alright, so I can remove the pin, trim off any threads, and now this is ready to turn around. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and snip around here on the little corner just so that I don't have all this bulk fabric there, and I get a nice little tip. when I turn it around. Don't go too close to the where you've sewed it, because you don't want to cut that thread, and also you don't want this fabric to fray and then it comes undone. So just a little bit, and then we can go ahead and turn this over. And then just use something, a little stick, a little, or a pen or a pencil to push it all through. Okay, so there we go. I've turned it around, and now I just want to open them up as much as I can so that the little seams are not folded inward. And then I'm going to give these all a good iron. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the rest of these, turn them over just like this, and we'll be back for the next step. All right, so now I am just ironing all of my little cones here. So after I've turned them over, they can get a little wrinkle. This is a cotton. It is a quilter's cotton, and I've purchased all of these fabrics are from Hobby Lobby. Okay, so there we go. We have them all like this. Now, you can leave them flat. You don't have to fill them in with anything. Just leave them like that. And of course, we don't have to worry about the top. The only thing I'm going to do is maybe just trim a little bit of these little frayed bits, and a little bit of the, here on the edge, you can see the inside seam kind of sticking out a little bit. The little seam right here. We can trim that off. This is all going to get sewn and under some bias tape, so we're not going to see it, but just to make everything all nice and neat and not to worry about it being maybe too much to push under the bias tape, we're just going to even them out and cut them off. Okay, so here I have some polyfill, and I'm just going to fill them up. I'm going to push some of this way to the little tip of the little cone here. Make sure I fill that up so that's not all like wishy-washy there. So make sure you push that in there. Get that in there. There we go. Now I don't want to fill them up too tightly. I just, you know, want them kind of like a little soft pillow. It's up to you. If you want to fill them up really fat and tight, that is up to you. Do not fill them all the way to the top, because we are going to sew this. We're going to seal it. Okay, once I've filled them, I'm going to go ahead and just, like I said, sew this just to close it. You don't really have to do that, but it's a lot easier to handle once we're putting it under the bias tape, okay? So just go ahead and sew them shut, and then we'll come to the next step. All right, so they have all been filled, and I've sewn the opening shut. Now, I just want to make sure that I point out that when you sew it on the top, just make this the smallest seam you possibly can, catching both fabrics. I almost missed it right there. I just want to catch both fabrics and the smallest seam you can, so that when it goes under the bias tape, you don't see that seam. Okay, we're going to go ahead and decorate these now. You can decorate them any way you want. I'm going to go ahead and add some little jingle bells on the tips here. So I've got these little cute little silver bells. I've got some shiny and some matte ones, but you can use whatever you want. And I like silver, so I picked those. So I'm just going to grab some thread on a needle right here, a little knot on the end there, so it doesn't go through like it just did. Make sure you knot that. Okay, there we go. Put it through there. And then we're just going to put it through the little top little opening there. It's like a little, looks like a little handle, but it's just kind of not sticking out too much. But we're going to put the needle through there. It's where you can put wire or a ribbon through it. Okay, so that. Okay, and I'm going to pass it through that little handle several times, and then through the tip of the cone here, so that I can make sure that I have enough thread going around it and holding it in place. And then I can just do a little knot on my last stitch and trim the thread. And usually you can just take the needle and pass it through the fabric a little bit, let it pop out just on one side, and then cut your thread. That way that the end of the thread ends up inside the little cone and it's not on the outside. You don't have to trim it too short. That's it. I've done 3 of them here, and then I'll add to the other 3 the little jingle bells. But you can decorate them further and add little laces on them, little trims, whatever, or buttons, or add more jingle bells, whatever you want to do, or just leave them plain like that. I have some trims that I'm going to grab, and I think I'm going to decorate, I think I'll decorate this one because it's just white. It does have like a little bit of a holly print. I don't know if you can see that, like that on there, but since it's basically white on white, you don't really notice it too much. So I've got this ribbon and these little scraps of ribbon. I think I bought like a little bag of things one time at a thrift store. So I have these little really pretty ribbon with a little poinsettia on it, but they're just little pieces like that. I thought it was one continuous piece, but it was just little pieces. So I'm just going to hot glue them across like that. I can do it through the back, but I think I'm just going to do the front. So the very edge here, I'm just going to trim a little bit of it off. And I'm going to start, you know, basically at the seam here. So add a little bit of glue. Oh, I thought for a moment my glue gun wasn't ready. I'm going to put it, you know, this facing this way first. So get that little end in there. Glue down first. Now you do that anyway, even if you're going to wrap it all the way around. Get that little end locked in there. Okay, now we can put a little bit of glue on that and then turn this around, press it onto it, and then we can decide how it's going to go. Just like that. So now I can put glue across. Just a little bit. Enough just to catch the ribbon. Like that. Yeah, I should have stopped short of the end here because now I'm going to go ahead and trim just a little bit longer and fold that little edge in. See how it comes out across the back? Just fold that in. Let's put some glue so it stays folded. Okay, pinch that and fold it in. Like that. And see, now we can just glue it down right here. And it meets up with that little seam. It doesn't have to, but I mean, if you want to try to do that, that's how you do it. Okay, now we just do that. Just like that. Very homemade. You want to add more, go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and add one more line of this down here. Oops, oops, oops. All these little webs of hot glue. Now down here, I'm going to use a shorter length of it. Okay, let's get some glue on the inside so it'll stay down. Otherwise, it's just there. That's what I'm going to do right here. Cut it just a little bit longer. Measure where it has to fold. This one doesn't mark very well, the fold, but it's so thick. Yeah, and then I'll go like that. Okay, perfect. Perfectly imperfect, I should say. And there it is. It looks cute. If you want to put it all the way around, go ahead. I'm just going to do it here because since it's going to be hanging on the wall in a garland, the back's going to hide. I'm not going to see it, but, you know, go for it. Why not? I just kind of want to save a lot of this ribbon for maybe some other projects. So I'll just use a little bit on this one. Maybe I'll use a different trim on these others or not use anything at all because they're pretty decorative. Okay, so I have this other little trim and I'm going to put it on this one. Now I'm thinking I'm going to put it like that and then like that this time. Just to be a little different. This one, I'm just going to put a little bit of, there's a tape there kind of holding it so it doesn't fall apart. But I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue to kind of hold all that together. And then pick an edge up here where I want it. Going at the angle that I want. So I'll know where to cut it now. I think I'm going to glue it down and then trim as I need. Okay, so I'm just going to put some trims on this. I'm going to find what else I can put on these other ones or maybe just some little bows and then I'll be back with the next step. Alright, so I finished decorating. You saw me do this one. And then I decided to do this with this cute little trim going in at an angle downward. And then I picked, oh yeah, I have this one here, and this one has a little bit of a metallic gold accent on the fabric. So I had this little rat tail in a gold shimmery metallic, and I decided just to hot glue it down and then back up the edge here. And I didn't want to hide too much because I thought this was really pretty. So put that over to the side, and then I decided to use some beads because this fabric has like little berries in there in the pattern. So I just filled some of the little clusters in with some berries, and of course that's just hot glued. Oh, and then by the way, I also decided to put a little bit of hot glue here where the little jingle bell is because I wanted to seal that thread, and then it just kind of keeps the little bell from moving around too much and possibly, you know, tearing the thread and coming off. So that's a good way to seal that and keep it all together. Okay, the last two, I put a little bow on it, see? And then I just glued the bow like in little loops just to make it look like it's just kind of, you know, just kind of trailing down the little cone here. All right, and then the last one, I have these little button snowflakes that I've been using in my other little projects. So I just glued some on here because the fabric does have some snowflakes. It's just a little touch, a little 3D touch, and I put plenty of glue so it wouldn't come off. But make sure that you use a glue that's for your, you know, plastic, because these are plastic, or if you're using metal buttons, use metal and fabric, like an E6000 or a Gorilla Glue. And, or you could sew the little buttons on here. You could sew all of this on here rather than hot gluing, like the little beads especially, maybe hand sew them on there. And of course, you could do all these little decorations before you actually sew them and put them together. I think I mentioned that. I'm not sure. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and put this all as a garland. So I'm going to be using this bias tape, and I mentioned that. And I'm using red. This bias tape is 1 inch, like as it is right now, but it does have these 1/4 inch edges folded down. So that makes it 1.5 inches. Let me look at my other ornaments, because I'm going to put these on my bias tape, but I'm going to put little ornaments, as you saw at the very beginning of the video. And I am using ornaments that I created in 2 previous videos. Let me grab those. Okay, so I'm going to be using my little angels that I created right here, and my 2 little Christmas trees. I wish I had made a 3rd one, so then I would have 3, 3, 3, and whatever. But this is what I have. So the pattern that I decided to do was, because I have 3 angels, so I'm going to put one in the middle. One's going to be right in the middle. The other 2 off to the sides. And then I want to put trees in the middle of each angel. And then in the middle of each of these, I want to put a little cone. So I don't want to put this one here because it matches. So I'll put the blue between these 2 greens to cut that. Actually, I'm going to cut, let's see, this green is too much like this one, so I'm going to put this one here, and so forth. And then, oops, see, they're all so much alike. Okay, this one, and then this will be over here. Okay, I've decided how I want everything to be. Now, if you don't have these other little items, you know, you didn't make that, you don't have to go back to videos, you can use your little ornament balls or little snowflakes, whatever else you might have that you can hang off of something. Now, if we don't have these, because mine already have little loops where I can sew into the bias tape, so where they can hang from. I'm going to put them in the order that, I don't want to lose this order, you guys, but I'm going to move this one out of the way. Let's move, actually, this one out of the way, too. Okay, I'm going to open these up like that. We're going to get our bias tape here and make sure that the little fold is facing up if you're using bias tape, or the back of a ribbon, or whatever else you're using. Okay, I'm going to do this. These guys here, this is the first one we're going to put on, and I want about 8 or 9 inches of free ribbon, you know, or bias tape. I want about that much first, and then I'm going to add my first item here, which is going to be this little cone, and I'm going to just pin it right on that little edge that's folded. Okay, oops, some of my beads are coming off. Okay, I can hot glue them back on later. Let's go ahead and let them fall off for now. Like I said, sew them on. Don't hot glue them because they'll come off. Okay, so we're going to put that there. And then you're going to determine how far your next ornament is going to go. So I want her about right here. And because she already has a little loop that I put on there to hang it, I don't need this whole length. So I'm going to trim it and then just sew the little ends of it into my bias tape right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that. See what I'm doing? I'm pinning things. Oops, let me pin it this way. I'll trim that off after I've sewn it down first, because I'm not going to fold this over yet till I first sew it down, because I want to make sure that it's catching onto, you know, the back of this, you know, the bias tape is catching onto the back here as I'm sewing it. So I'm going to do this like that first, and then I'll fold this over and then sew it one more time on top. So let's put them all like this first. And then I believe this blue one was going to be next. See, I can see here how far apart I want everything. But let's say, as I was saying, you don't have these little angels, you don't have these little trees, and you want to put something here. So you don't know what you're going to put yet. So grab yourself a piece of thin ribbon, like that, or a little piece of, this is called rat tail. This is what it looks like close up. It's just a little weaved rope. But it's also called a rat tail because it kind of looks like a little rat tail. Okay, so I cut off about 3 inches and make a little loop. And then you can put a little pin there just to mark where you're going to want it, right? And then as you're sewing, you put these in there, let them go in about, you know, 1/2 inch in there. And sew that along while you're sewing that also, so that then you have a little loop coming out. Let's say this is folded over after we've sewn it on top now. Let's maybe grab it a little bit better here. So then this will get caught in there like that, okay? It'll get caught in there as you're sewing it the first time, of course, and then when you put this one over it, you're going to sew it again. So it's going to get caught there between there. So now you're going to have a little loop where you can put a little hook and your little ornament. Or if your ornament is on a little ribbon, or you can put a little ribbon on it, tie it on here, you know, make a little bow to tie it, and you'll have a little ornament ball or a little snowflake, whatever else you want to hang. You'll have something where you can hang it from. Okay, that's just a little, you know, tip. Okay, but I'm going to do my little ornaments that I created. So I'm just going to go along, and I'm going to be pinning where I want them, and just leave the pin there. And then, because I don't want to grab everything all on this right now, I want to sew it or place them as I sew. So I'm going to go ahead and put everything back in the order that I wanted everything, because I can't remember now what it was. I think it was this, and then the little cone, and then the little tree, and then this. Okay, so what I'm going to start is I'm going to start right here. I'm going to start sewing, double space, you know, backtrack it, and then keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and then again, reverse, do a little backtrack on here to make sure that that little edge gets caught on there really well. Give it a little bit of space, then decide where my little angel's going to go. Sew that little ribbon. Don't worry about trimming it right now. Put on your next item that you want to get sewn in there, and so forth as you go along. And I have here, this package has 3 yards, so I have plenty of bias tape. Now I don't want my garland to be too long, so I'm not going to separate them too much. I'm going to actually put them a little bit closer, and when they hang, they're going to be nice, especially if you hang them kind of a little angle. They'll kind of open up a little bit. So everything will be fine. Just don't put them like too close where they're just crashing into each other. Okay, so I got 3 yards of bias tape to work with. So this is a good thing to get. This bias tape is old as heck. Look at the price on there. 75 cents. It's a vintage bias tape. I almost didn't want to use it, you guys. I've had these a long time. I don't even remember, because I used to go to, you know, thrift stores a lot, or actually it wasn't a thrift store. It was a what is the word? Oh my gosh, antique store. It was an antique store, and I've, you know, sometimes I grab things like this. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it because I'm doing a vintage Christmas. This is sort of a vintagey kind of a vibe here, vintage style, and so I'm gonna go ahead and use my little packet. I have a few more of these, but this is the only red one I have. But I'm gonna use it. Okay, enough talking. Let's get to sewing. Okay, so I'm just going to carefully sew this I don't want to put the edge of these past the half mark here. I want to make sure that's within the first half of the this side on the left side. Okay, so that's where I'm going to hang that ornament. And I want to make sure the little wings are, you know, not underneath the little cone or over it. So I'm just separating it enough. And then at a nice length here. We'll keep going. And I forgot to backspace where I said to backspace. But I'm going to go ahead and backspace on her here. Okay, we're going to go a little bit further. Okay, she's right there. And then we can see where our tree should go. Get that in there because it's nice and close. Okay. Okay. All right. And then our little tree. Kind of want him to dangle a little bit longer. That'll be okay. Not too much. Okay. Okay, I wanted him right about there. All right, so here are our items getting sewn in there. So we're going to go ahead and continue. I have everything in order over here where I want things. So I'm going to continue and sewing this, and then we'll go to the next step where we put this over and sew that. Okay, so now we're at the end, so I want to go ahead and give it about another 9 inches. So that's what I started with. So I'm going to measure 9 inches and just trim it right there. All right, so we're back at the beginning where we're going to fold our bias tape. You could just fold it down here, or you could fold in the little end here first and then fold it in and then start sewing. Let's get that in there. I don't know why I kept saying backtracking. It's back stitching. All right, we're going to go along the edge as close as we can. All right, here's where I have these little loops, like from the little angel. I can go ahead and trim it now that I know it's been sewn. Okay, it starts to get a little heavy because, you know, you got to pull on these. So just gently grab everything. And just slowly do this, you guys. No rush to do this. As I do this really quickly. There's no rush to do this. We can trim this little ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and finish off the end just like I did the beginning. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do a little stitch across there because I didn't catch the bottom part here. So I'm going to go ahead and come back and just stitch that, and that way it looks a little bit nicer and finished. Okay, I'll be back. All right, everyone, here is my garland. I put all the little items together, sewn it as you saw. And if you want to know how long this ended up being, it is about a couple of yards long. So that's about, let's see, 36 and 36 is 72 inches long. I really enjoyed putting this together, and like I said, you don't have to do all the extra things in the previous videos. You can just make these little cones, and of course you don't have to stuff them. They can be nice and flat, and just make a whole bunch of them. And if you want, add the little loops and add more little ornaments, like little balls or whatever little snowflakes you want to put into it. I had a lot of fun, like I said. I hope that you did too. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a kind comment down below and let me know what you think of this week's project. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that red subscribe button and hit the little notification bell right after so that you get notified of my videos as soon as I upload them. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for viewing all of my videos and for supporting my channel. And as always, enjoy.